Immersion. This is what real immersion looks like, okay? Like, don't even try me. To be deeply engaged within any type of medium has to be a high S tier feeling, especially when we're talking video games. Getting lost in a world that is filled to the brim with mesmerizing locations, picturesque vistas, and tons of secrets, I just simply love it. There is something so wonderfully special about it that keeps hooking me in again and again. Exploring the maze-like mansion of Resident Evil slowly, room by room, galloping on your horse through wide stretches of grass in Breath of the Wild, messing with the characters in Portal 2 to get different dialogue. Whatever the hell this is. Does this count? Well, we can make it count. It is simply magical. So what I want to do with this video is just go over some games that really surprised me when it comes to their immersion. I got so sucked into these worlds to the point that I look like this now. Just completely dehydrated. There is a cheap joke that I can make here, but I'm not gonna do that because I'm better than that. Alright, let's start off with the most niche game ever created. This one. Kinda. I want you guys to know that I have and always will have a soft spot for Minecraft. There is just something so captivating about its world. Carving out a little segment of it and making it your own by populating it with little structures and stories for you to share with your friends. It has always been so inherently fun. I mean, in what game can you tame a camel that you've traveled thousands of blocks with, end up naming it Chudderson, and then see it drown into the snow, making you lose your mind over it?
My Chudson!
Heartbreaking.
My Chudson!
This is where Minecraft shines the brightest, creating stories and just messing around. But what if it wasn't like that? What if Minecraft was all about exploring a weird, nonsensical and bizarre world where nothing makes any visual sense? Well, then you get lucid blocks.
What is that?
When did I got the giant enemy spider in this game? I'm not gonna sit here and say that Minecraft exploration is bad or even mediocre in that matter, but I do think many people would agree with the statement that it leaves a lot to be desired. Cough cough, end update. Mojang, cough cough. Comparing it to lucid blocks, however, might make sense on the surface, but if you dive a little deeper into this title, you figure out that the only big shared similarities is the randomly generated voxel world and the vague crafting system. That's about it. The moment when I figured out that this wasn't a make a cute little base game was when there was a massive amalgamation of shapes flying in the sky, literally carpet bombing my house I was about to make. This really happens. Like, what? Brother, what do you mean? Instead, this game is all about exploring a weird world and finding biomes and blocks that just sprout curiosity while leaving you utterly confused. Cities made out of plastic, blocks that drop random alphabet letters, big walls made out of rusted metal. Sometimes you see a fleshy headless horse run aimlessly around. Structures are populated with little mannequins. There was one time where I found a biome made out of vomit blocks, and next to it were s'more blocks. Like, how do you come up with this? I think that's the big selling point of lucid blocks. Just indulging with the weird, the abstract, and trying to find meaning in it. What does all of it mean though? Well, honestly, I have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to explain it. But something about it is just so fascinating. It's definitely a short little adventure and not something you play for hours and hours on end, because the gameplay of it is nothing super special. You just kinda explore, find these weird glowing cubes that bring you to a challenge you have to beat. Beat it and repeat until you make your funny bracelet fully shine. There is no real reason to collect a lot of resources or even build a house unless you really want to do it for fun, but besides that, it serves no real purpose. If a I'm honest, I'm even very hesitant to call this a good game. But what I will say is that it is very unique and just strange, bizarre, in a way that weirdly hooked me. It's no replacement to Minecraft. I mean, I wasn't going into it thinking it would be, but it's a fun take on it. So I'd recommend checking it out if you're interested. No camel I can name Chudderson though, so you know, game sucks. But you know what game I also recommend you check out? The original Half-Life. This is still, to this day, such a classic, man. There is something about the way it's structured, how it makes you interact with the environment and NPCs that no other game has quite replicated since its original release.
Yeah, we might stand a better chance if we team up.
Many have tried though, some to great success. I liked how Trover Saves the Universe did it. The original 2 chapters of Poopy Stinky Playtime did this pretty well. Sludge Life 1 and 2, you know, big brown frown. And most recently, Metal Garden. This game is just Half-Life built all the way from top to bottom. From the gunplay to the way you interact with the environment. Hell, they even went as far to make the menus in this game movable, letting you drag them around with your mouse. This is like such an old school Source Engine gimmick that you don't really see around anymore, but I kinda miss it, man. There is something about it that just makes me fill up with glee. Yeah, that's the wrong Glee. My favorite part of Metal Garden, though? The atmosphere. This is how you do it, man. Every single time when there is a moment to take a break to look at your surroundings, you take it. This is such an interesting world, stuck in this, like, mega structure where you parkour over gigantic moving gears. I mean, you can literally see the ceiling up in the sky. Broken highways that disappear in the fog, decaying machines you loot for ammo, rusting gondolas that fall apart after use. Simply put, this is just such a cool world, filled with machines and concrete while still having the occasional life pop in and out. And the sound design, man. Oh, nothing but just unsettling wind and machines working overtime in the background. It feels so desolate and empty, amplified by the muted colors, like there was a civilization here that moved on to greater things. I just get so enthralled in all of it, man. The overall game, though, is not anything super grand. No real big gameplay element that makes it stand out. But again, the atmosphere has just been nailed here, which kind of makes me sad that the whole thing is only like an hour and a half long. And once I 100%ed it, I was simply craving more. It is such an interesting world that kept me on my toes, and surprisingly, the gunplay is pretty solid too. It's simple, but there's a certain charm to calculating how many shots you have to pump into an enemy before it falls over. You only get 3 weapons, but juggling them is like strangely engaging, pumping a shotgun shell into an enemy to then finish them off with the pistol, while taking out an enemy in the distance with your sniper immediately after. It's simply interesting. It's not genre defining or spectacular, but it did have me hooked. Like really, really hooked. And it's hard to get mad at a $6 game. You should buy it, play it, and then come back to the comments of this video and write your 1,000-word essay. I will be grading everyone, so you better put on your A game, okay? The person with the best essay will get a really cool reward. By the way, another genre of games I think is deeply immersive are climbing games, and as some of you know, I've been heavily indoctrinated into this genre for a while now, from Peaks of Yore to a difficult game about climbing, to White Knuckle and even Stupid Ass Peak, and I think the reason why I've gotten so interested into the genre is the potential that's on the table when it comes to them. Platformer games are fun, and probably the genre that comes most closely to it, but it also feels like that these types of games have mostly been tapped out for a while now. You do get the occasional hidden gem, don't get me wrong, but they often don't bring anything new to the table and mostly try to just refine mechanics and styles from previous titles. Not to say that they are bad, just often recycled and rehashed. I don't have that same feeling when it comes to climbing games, because there aren't many quality ones out there, and Karen joins that small group of them. This game is such a memorable journey, man. Holy cinema. The most impressive thing a video game can do, in my opinion, is bring up an emotion within you that the developers painstakingly try to make you feel. For most games, that's just joy. I mean, who wouldn't have a fun time shooting Mecha Hitler in Wolfenstein 3D? But Karen goes the complete other direction. It wants to piss you off on purpose. It wants you to struggle, be angry and irritated, with the only pushing force up your sleeve being your own motivation. That means, though, that this game can be a bit of an asshole, to say the least. Most climbing games don't even bother using your legs as a mechanic, since controlling 4 limbs separately gets really messy. Karen says screw that and does it anyway, going for a slower, more cinematic experience, and instead of flinging yourself across the map by doing the turbo spinneroo, you're supposed to soak in the environment around you, explore dimly lit ruins, and climb massive stone walls that tower over you. You're planning out routes, managing food and water supply, sleep through rainstorms, and tape your fingers one by one for better grip. Sometimes you even just sit down and stare at the horizon in the distance. It's not per se a game you zoom through, and it's more about the journey rather than the destination. Because you are controlling all 4 limbs at once though, climbing in Karen is quite cumbersome, often making you struggle with what limb you are moving, and you will often run out of stamina and fall to your death, which is okay because you can see your ragdoll flop around, and that's really funny. In a way, this is kind of a Fodian game, where you are continuously fighting against its controls, which doesn't sound very fun, right? But it's kinda like getting over it, where yeah, the climb is a pain in the butt, but that feeling of mastering the core mechanics and overcoming the journey in front of you makes it all worth it. This is one of the reasons why I really cherish that game. It has so many layers of meaning behind its narrative and gameplay that really resonated with me. Karen also kinda does this, but while one is all about pushing forward and reaching the end in search of relief and closure, the other ends up saying, why are we climbing this mountain, and is it even the right call anymore? I think the concept of this internal struggle within Ava, the main protagonist, is so wonderfully crafted, because even she doesn't know why she is doing it. At the start, you are motivated, but the higher you go, the more you start to doubt if it's even worth it. You find abandoned structures from an era gone by, dead bodies dangling down cliffs, you meet other characters that are just lost in their ways. I think this is something a lot of people struggle with in the real world. Why are we doing the things we are doing, and does it even have meaning? Am I accomplishing something worthwhile, or am I just wasting my time? When I reached the end in getting over it for the first time, the feeling I had was unmatched, like I conquered the world. But in Karen, it funnily enough made me feel more empty than I did at the start. I was wholeheartedly ready to start pumping my fist in the air and say, hell yeah, I did it, screw you guys, go suck someone off. But instead, I didn't feel much of anything. And I kinda really like that about it. It's a game that makes you think, it questions the journey you go on, but instead of telling you how you should feel, it leaves room for you to make your own conclusion of, is it worth it? And I think that's a very powerful message to end it on. When it comes to the act of climbing though, this game's mechanics are not as strong as some of the others in the same genre. And yes, it is a frustrating, bumpy journey that makes you want to tear your hair out of your head. But the way the narrative is so thoughtfully weaved within its gameplay made this a title that I was heavily immersed in from beginning to end. I simply loved it, man. Oh, it's so good. Alright, let's transition to skating. Yeah, I've never really done it myself. If I'm honest, I'll probably break all my bones the millisecond I step on a board. But I have played my fair share of skating games over the years, and something about jumping off half pipes and doing a dozen of tricks in a row, building up score, going for fancy combos has always and will always be exhilarating. But Skate Story though really feels like it wants to jump out of this mold. Yes, it is about skating, yes, you are doing a bunch of funky tricks and end up collecting big 3D letters, I don't know why this is a skating staple, but it's kind of funny. But while these games' whole thing is go for big combos and looking slick, Skate Story says let's add an atmospheric journey on top of that. What if we made the player give a latte to a pigeon? And let's make them go on a quest to eat half a dozen of moons, and then they get in trouble because they took a nap without a permit. Make them wash the devil's clothes for a change, and then ride a subway with funny little legs. Let's just say that this game has it all. They got the frog. They got the frog from that one, the one game. Frog is my favorite character of all time. There are two main parts to Skate Story, the skating part and the story part. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? And the game flips between these two things continuously throughout the 6 or so hour adventure. The story part of Skate Story is silly, but that's not to say that it is a goofy roller coaster all the way through. There is a deeper meaning in the subjects it talks about and portrays. For example, the game starts out with you signing a contract for a skateboard. But by doing that, you also turn your body into glass. And if there are two things in life that should never be near each other, it's glass and skateboards. But because you are made out of glass, every time you fall, you shatter into a million bits and pieces. But from what I've interpreted, this is a message about the art of skateboarding itself. Yeah, it is a dangerous activity that can break your bones easily, but there's also a certain thrill behind it that people keep reaching for. And even if I personally don't really dabble with it, I can't help but just admire it. This is clearly a game made by someone that truly loves skating, not just as a hobby, but as a lifestyle. And the world of Skate Story is very much molded around their personal life and their experiences. It still has that artistic touch though, that makes your brain go to work trying to make sense of it all. The surrounding buildings that tower over you while you zoom through vivid, saturated locations. You talk to funny skeletons after visiting the local bagel place. There was one time where I went to the gift shop to buy stickers to put on my board, but then I saw an inscription skateboard for sale. And that was the moment when I went, okay, yeah, this is a good game. And they got Loop Hero? What? This game is a masterpiece, man, and I'm telling you. If I had to describe Skate Story with one word, I would say art. Pure, unfiltered art. The contextual meaning and visuals of this title, I just find them immaculate. And I loved skating through its locations, soaking in the atmosphere. It hooked me so deeply, and I think that's truly where this title shines the brightest. To be fair, the game is really shiny in general. Like literally. Gameplay though? Like, the mechanics aren't bad, and I think the skating itself is fun, but there is no real challenge here, no real stakes. It is truly just a linear roller coaster where you do a bunch of funky skate tricks for the fun of it. To be fair though, I didn't jump into Skate Story for the skating depth. I really wanted to check it out for the vibes, the style, and when this game starts blasting its music while you traverse through its picturesque locations, that's when you turn into the Danny DeVito I Get It gif. If you like artsy games whose whole goal is just to be that, art with nice visuals and funky music, think of Gris, Sayonara Wild Hearts or Journey, then Skate Story is a must check out. Its skating gameplay might be a little shallow compared to some of its competition, but I can't help but just respect it to hell and back, literally, because this game takes place in hell. One final thing though, why is this an achievement? To obtain this, you literally need to do 3 hours of straight up trick farming. Why? This is stupid, pointless, and a waste of time. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, okay? I need help. Okay, but what if the skateboard didn't have wheels and the asphalt you skated on was water instead? Bam! Sword of the Sea, baby. I think out of every game I've covered in this video, this is the prettiest one by a long shot. And they got the frog in this game. You remember the frog from Skate Story? It's here, baby. Of course it is. Instant masterpiece. This is why you play Sword of the Sea, though. To just look at the fancy graphics, the nice art direction and visuals. And it's truly at its best when you play it late at night with a nice warm cup of tea to boot. I mean, look at this, man. How can you not love it? Giant Squid, the devs of this game, have always focused on making eye candy-esque experiences, but I think in Sword of the Sea, they have really perfected it by picking out all the bits and bobs that worked about their previous work and dialing it up to 11 here. You got the fish from Abzu, the movement from the Pathless, the desolate locations from Journey, and all of it comes together to form this beautiful package that you just get sucked into it, man. Massive statues that tower over you while pointing somewhere beyond the fog, abandoned temples covered in sand, carcasses of creatures that are long forgotten, and the fish, man. You guys know that I love fish. Mostly this one though, but the main gameplay aspect of this game is gliding through its world and bringing life back into it by interacting with these nodes that first spew water everywhere, but afterwards spawn a ton of different types of fish and sea creatures. Every single time this happens, you just stare at your screen in awe. It is beautiful. And then you glide through the fish and they will actually try to make way for you. Now think of the last game with a big focus on fish AI. Exactly, Call of Duty Ghost, but that game doesn't let you bounce on a jellyfish, so there's a clear winner here. This game also sucks ass, so it doesn't really matter to begin with. I do think out of the 5 games I've covered in this video, it is the weakest one. Besides the fancy graphics and gliding through its world, there isn't much more to talk about. But I also think that's fine. It's okay to be just a pretty game. As a creator, if you have a fun world in your mind that you want to realize and put on paper, I'm all for it. I just love exploring these worlds and getting so enthralled in it. May it be abstract, atmospheric, story heavy, artsy, or just plain pretty. I just love being immersed, and there are so many different ways to achieve that, which I think is really special. If there is one thing missing from all of the titles I've covered in this video though, it is the fact that there is no neighbor with shitty AI chasing you throughout the game's runtime. So clearly we have a winner, okay? Please don't add me. Here are the supporters of my channel, of the Foco YouTube channel, and this guy has a funny name, but yeah, subscribe, I guess. I don't know, man. Go play a real video game or something, okay? Okay, bye-bye.